What are you trying to preserve? And maybe you're looking at me like, why are you asking me that? I read this amazing Devo the other day that reminded me of the story of Jesus saying, remember Lot's wife. Now, who's Lot? Who's his wife? And why do they matter? They're part of the descendants of Abraham. Abraham, that dude that God said, I'm gonna promise you many great nations are going to come out of your family lineage. It's the same lineage that traced all its way to Jesus. That family. That's who Lot and his wife are a part of. And there came a time in their life where they were living in a city where people they were wilding out. They were doing the most. Anything in the book you can think of that you're like, that's crazy. They were doing it and there was not a good thing happening there. And when I say that, I'm not even trying to be dramatic. There wasn't a single thing good happening there. Like God looked and he couldn't find it. And so it came to a point where God was like, you know what? I'm going to spare you before something worse happens. So he tells Lot and his wife to leave and not look back. So these angels are scooping them up and taking them, and they're like, listen, we out this joint. Whatever you got going on, whatever it is, we out. So they're taking them. And what does Lot's wife do? She looks back. In the story, so many times when we read this, we're like, oh my gosh, it's crazy, because she turns into a pillar of salt, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's wild. Like, that is just dramatic and insane in itself. And we see on the surface, the true lesson that there's consequences to our disobedience and when we don't listen to God. But let's go deeper into the richness and poetic nature of what this author is trying to get at. She turns into a pillar of salt. What is salt? It's a preservative. It begs the question, what are you trying to preserve from your past? What are you trying to keep from the life you used to have, the life that's behind you? And why do you keep trying to preserve something that's killing you, that's not good for you, that's making you die inside? And so that's why I ask you the same question I need to ask myself. What are we trying to preserve in our lives that's not good for us, that's for the death of us, that's going to lead to our destruction, to turn us into a pillar of salts in our life? What are you trying to preserve? Because I'm telling you right now, God is sparing you from the things you think you should be keeping, in the life you feel like you should be continuing to try to control and contain and have, and the traumas and whatever it might be in your life that you feel like you've got to hold on to keep in your life, that he's telling you, no, look forward. I have so much better for you ahead, and you don't have to preserve it. I've got you and I've got it. Let's stop trying to preserve the things that are behind us that aren't for our good. Let's look forward and trust God for the things that are ahead.